Hello, Phil Cross here. We're inside the arena at Nîmes. The sun's just come out. It's bloody hot again. It's hot again. Not that I'm complaining. I don't mind. I don't mind the heat. You know, it's when I used to go to work back in the day at the police. You know, I always just say to Nicky, if it's cold, it's raining. You know, but I'm a 4-2. I'm meant to be out in that, and that's kind of the attitude I've got. If it's I don't mind if it's raining and cold. It is what it is. You just try and dress appropriately for it. But same with the heat. So that sort of brings me on to my views on climate warming. To be fair, it gives me the needle when people keep banging on about it. I don't, I think we all will look at different reports, and we will listen to different experts, and we'll all have a differing opinion about it. So my opinion is formed from the type of stuff that I look at and choose to believe. Whereas, you can call me a climate change denier if you wish, but then I could turn around and say to somebody that keeps banging on about it, shut up, you're talking bollocks. There's a number of reasons for that. There's a guy called Professor Ian Stewart. If you're watching, Ian, happy days. I've made it. But Professor Ian Stewart he's basically a geologist type expert, and he did a series of programs. I think there was 5 about the planet, and the one of them would be about like the volcanoes, the water, and wind. It was about the major elements that affect the planet and how they affect it, each one. And then the last one was called rare earth, which basically goes into the sort of the expert explanation as to why life exists. So Brian Cox as well, Professor Brian Cox. I watch a lot of his stuff. I find them both very interesting. But rare earth by Ian Stewart was it's basically about the position of the planet, the distance it is away from the sun, the type of axis it's on, and all of those kind of things that help make conditions right for life. And then Brian Cox would go on to explain that the reason that the planet can sustain life is because it can have water in all states, so liquid, frozen and gas. So it really depends on who you choose to listen to and believe. I wholly believe that the people that keep banging on about climate change are scared of the human race being the 6th mass extinction, and I think invariably at some point in time that's going to be the case, because it's just the way the planet works. If you, I'm hoping it won't be for quite a long time. We've all got kids and whatever. It's I don't think it's going to be for thousands of years yet, but I think human beings will be the next mass extinction, and I think that's what people keep banging on about. When you hear people like say Laura on GMTV, I don't dislike the woman. Of course I don't. I think she's quite good at her job and whatever. But when they report things like, for example, yesterday was the hottest day in June since 1976, and they bang on, and then they sort of try and blame that on climate change and global warming. But it happened in 1976. What the fuck are you talking about? It's happened before. It's been this hot before. And, back in the early 70s, if any of you are sort of my age or older and are able to remember it, back in the early 70s, they were threatening us with another ice age. You know, that was the next thing. There was going to be an ice age. Oh, fucking brace yourself! You're going to need to buy a coat. But that never happened. And there's, you know, you see some things on Instagram where people have gone through this. You know, in the 70s it was going to be the ice age, then it was fucking the hole in the ozone, and every time something like that happens, the government tend to be able to increase the tax in some way. So, global warming, climate change. What we need to do is we need to fucking build wind farms and shit like that. And when you see documents on Instagram about how one of those big windmills will take 20 years in order to basically pay for itself from a carbon footprint that it creates in order to be built and maintained. And it's just, you think yourself, well, I think, you know, there's going to be a need for an alternative energy. Of course there is, because fuel's not going to last forever. Certainly the type of petroleum fuel that we're using, but it doesn't need to be electricity. It doesn't need to be right now. And I think there are a lot of people making a lot of money out of this scaremongering, and it kind of winds me up, really. Especially when they do things like, you know, this is the hottest day in fucking August since 1962. But it's happened before. It's been this hot before. Why are you fucking banging on about it? Back in those days, it was nothing to do with us, you know. I just don't believe it's a thing that needs to be worried about. There's a thing on Instagram. Forgive me, I don't know his name. It was some sort of a sort of Senate type hearing where the guy's asking, I'm fucking sweating cobs here, global warming, where the geezer's asking some experts to explain to him how much of the atmosphere is in fact carbon dioxide. And there's, you know, hopefully you've seen it and you can relate, but there's fucking like silence from these experts, and he says, well, I'll fucking tell you then. The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is fucking 0.04. So 0.04 of the atmosphere is carbon dioxide, and then he says to them, how much of that 0.04 are human beings responsible for? Silence. He said, well, okay, 11%. So 11% of that 0.04 is down to human beings, and that's quite a crazy way to look at it, you know. When the experts that are pro pushing the climate change and the global warming thing, and we need to do something about it, and we need to do it now. Greta Thunberg, shut your fucking mouth. You're a fucking idiot. You don't know anything, and that's all words being put into your mouth. But when they're banging on about it, they always seem to refer to carbon dioxide as a fucking poison, and it's not a fucking poison, is it? It's not a poison. It's a natural gas that's actually quite important to the planet. You know, all plant life need it. You know, and then when they turn around and say we've got to have a zero carbon footprint, you know, we've got to be like net zero. Absolutely fucking impossible. We breathe the twat out. We can't be zero fucking carbon dioxide, can we? It's net zero is an impossible thing to do. No human being can be net zero. So it's just no animal come to that. They'll fucking breathe it out. And we rely on the gas for vegetation. You know, without the gas, plant life would die. And if plant life dies, then that gas doesn't get turned into oxygen, which is what we need. It's just, you know, it's absolute bollocks. Carbon dioxide is not a poison, okay? It's a naturally occurring gas that we all produce. And when you look at it, it's 0.04 of the atmosphere is made up of it. It's just absolutely crazy. So that's my little rant on global warming. Much as I'm sweating like a pig here, I love it. I love it. Bring it on. Bring it on. Yeah. The arena in Nîmes. Climate change. Do one. Ta-da.